11 years ago, Philip Schiller announced the iPhone 3GS at WWDC 2009. The iPhone 3GS consisted of a lot of great features that the iPhone 3G had, but now it is even better than before. Since the S stood for speed, that was exactly what the iPhone 3GS offered, as well as reliability and better usability. But how did the iPhone 3GS seem so perfect in every way? Hey guys, I'm Ethan from AloniTech47, and today we are going to see how Apple pulled off the iPhone 3GS and seeing how usable it has been over 10 years later. Now before we get started, I just want to thank you guys for surpassing 100 subscribers. Every new subscriber is an achievement for me and I care about each and every one of you guys. And with that, I also now have a Patreon. I have one of those so that you can see even more about my life as well as other perks like early access, a chat community, as well as other exclusive updates. You can check it out as well as join at the link below. Now the iPhone 3GS kind of gets overshadowed. The reason for that is because the iPhone 4 that preceded it was much better than the iPhone 3GS, but Apple never killed this phone, nor did they ever ignore its entirety. Apple was proud of what the iPhone 3GS turned out to be. It was a great phone and now it no longer is, but it's still what Apple wanted for its customers, and they didn't plan to mess up the iPhone 3GS. And to understand that to a fuller extent, we need to look at the design as well as the other features of the iPhone 3GS. The iPhone 3GS was the exact same body as the iPhone 3G, which again for Apple was a great way to keep people happy with a low starting price of $199. But the plastic back and stainless steel band around the 3GS was very unique. Apple would never use this kind of design again as the plastic on this phone tends to scratch very easily and cracks on the bottom half of the phone. Luckily my iPhone 3GS doesn't have any cracks, but it is more scratched than my iPhone 3G. I love holding this phone. It doesn't have any hard edges and it rests on your hand perfectly. When you hold this phone long enough, it's almost like the phone is part of your hand, weirdly enough. The plastic on the iPhone 3GS is shiny, unlike the iPhone 5C, so if you look hard enough, you can see yourself. You also have a metallic Apple logo, buttons, and text which gives it its premium look. The phone has more metallic accents than you think. The camera lens and speaker holes also have metallic looks on them. So Apple called this iPhone an S upgrade, so the iPhone 3GS got faster. It now features 256 megabytes of RAM, which is double than what the previous iPhones had, as well as 600 MHz Cortex-A8 processor and PowerVR graphics. Apple also said that the iPhone OS 3.0 software runs faster on all iPhones as an extra bonus. So not only can you run apps and websites up to 2 times faster, but you can do those tasks at that speed all the way until the iPhone 3GS wasn't supported by Apple anymore with iOS 6. My iPhone 3GS here runs iOS 4.3.5 and it runs it well. When I put it up against my iPhone 4 running iOS 4, it does not fall behind. Because the software is so fast, the iPhone hardware capabilities are able to up its game as well. Apple put in an all-new computer in the iPhone 3GS with all the great specs, but now they have added conveniences that would make the iPhone 3GS more reliable. One of the biggest features of the iPhone 3GS is a 3-megapixel camera sensor with autofocus, as well as VGA video recording. Now the pictures on this phone look okay in today's sense. It's not as wide as the current iPhones, and there aren't very many colors popping out to you. And that goes with the same with video recording. But all of this is great in that it looks retro and nostalgic. I can see someone using this phone today for just the fact that it takes cool retro photos. But taking selfies have to be done the old-fashioned way since there is no front-facing camera. The iPhone 3GS is also equipped with Bluetooth 2.1, GPS, a compass, accelerometer, and proximity sensor. GPS was the newest feature that Apple could use so that they have better reliability with Google Maps and directions. Something that the iPhone 3GS lacked was a good display. Apple was still using the same 165 pixel per inch 3.5-inch display. It looked a little milky and showed pixels. It also isn't very color accurate and showed a lot of blue hues, possibly from the LED backlight. Text and high quality images didn't look too good on this phone and looked blurry half the time. But it did the job well, and the iPhone 3GS had a display that was a lot better than the phones that existed around the time anyway. Now this phone has a 30-pin dock connector and charges a battery with a capacity of 1220 mAh. That may not sound much, but for a 3GS, it can actually get you through the day. That was a decent amount of battery power for the underpowered phone. And since the battery isn't too big, it also charges up fairly nicely since there isn't any fast charging like modern cell phones have now. You can jailbreak the iPhone 3GS, especially if you have an older iPhone 3GS. You can also downgrade this phone to iOS 4.1. Now, I didn't downgrade this phone here. I got this phone already running iOS 4, and that is great because I didn't have to go over any possible hiccups in downgrading or jailbreaking. But if you want to jailbreak this phone for some reason, it's a really good phone to begin on if you are just starting out on jailbreaking. I personally don't jailbreak because I like using iPhones as original as they are, so I really want to experience something as original as possible. So if there is a downgrade for this phone, I'll try to get that iPhone on that version. But I mostly buy iPhones on eBay that already have some sort of older running version of iOS. So if you were to use this phone today, you could actually do it. Since the iPhone 3GS is a 3G phone with HSDPA, you can literally walk into an AT&T store and activate it. The people there would give you an extremely funny look, but you can pull it off. You can text and call on this phone still, as well as perform basic tasks like calculating and calendar. But you can't really get any apps on this phone anymore except for Temple Run, because you can always get Temple Run on any iPhone. And Temple Run runs great on here. You just have to get past the milky display, but you get the point anyway. You shouldn't use this phone today unless you want to collect it. If you want a cheap phone to use, like really cheap, get an iPhone 5S or even an iPhone 6 since they run for 50 or so bucks. But if you really want to use this phone, use it as an awesome music player since it still has cover flow. And if you have a 32GB model 3GS, then you can put quite a lot of music onto it. But the iPhone 3GS was still a great phone for people to use back then, and not very many people know that. The iPhone 4 really was a 3GS killer. It had a Retina display and a great new design, but the iPhone 3GS was still a key piece in the evolution of the iPhone. Even though the iPhone 2G and 3G were bad on their last versions of iOS, the 3GS wasn't, and that is what makes the iPhone 3GS worth looking back on. I would say that the iPhone 3GS was one of their best S upgrades even if it's the first one, and aside from the design and display, the iPhone 3GS has aged very well. That is it for this video. If you like what you saw, hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up, and comment down if you've ever used an iPhone 3GS. If you're interested, go follow me on Twitter and Instagram at alumnitech47. Also, don't forget to click that link down below to my Patreon where you'll get extra miscellaneous perks, early access, a chat community, as well as other exclusive updates. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.